Good evening, everybody, and welcome along to this edition of LiR Confidential on lirmedia.tv. And our usual email for people who want to make comments on it is info@lirmedia.tv. And don't forget to press the red button on your screen to subscribe. It's free of charge. Unlike everything in life today, there's nothing else free except subscribing to LiR Media. But John Lonergan, I'm delighted to welcome you to the program. Welcome, John.
Thanks very much, Pat, for inviting me and Mary. Really delighted. I enjoyed the last time I was on with Mary. So, and I look at your posts every week.
Excellent. And we have some announcements to make during the week, John. So you'll be the first to know. We're not going to make it on this program, but exciting moves for LiR Media, we hope. Anyway.
Brilliant.
Yourself, I mean, I'm from North Cork myself, so I'm not a city boy, but I spent a lot of my time in the north side of the city, if you're following my drift.
Yeah.
But you're, as I've said to you before we came on air, you're a city boy, as they say, up that way, down that way. Where were you born and reared?
I was born up by Collins Barracks, and then because my father was a soldier, we then moved into the married quarters. And I spent the best part of 18 years in there. And then we moved out to, as we used to call it, the back of the barracks, which is a new housing estate out on by the Glen.
Oh, but yes.
And that's where I spent the most of my childhood and everything.
Just down by the Glen. The first house I bought was in Brandon Crescent in the Glen.
That's where my brother lived. Would you believe it?
Go where?
Yeah, my brother lived in Brendan Crescent, yeah.
I was number, I don't know, I think just 12, God, that was a long time ago anyway.
Yeah.
It was great people up there, fantastic people up there, you know. I just loved it. I just loved walking around the area. You know, people might think that's stupid, but all life was there.
Yeah, there was... The community inside in Collins Barracks was absolutely fantastic, because you can imagine you had every character you could ever get in life. You had the good, the bad, you had the ugly, you had the people who, you know, just funny characters. You had, you know, years ago we used to be playing Runaway Knock, and we'd always have to run it, have one or two doors we'd always get to, you know, because we knew we'd get a big chase after them, you know. And there was never anything done about it. It was simple children playing, you know.
It was innocent stuff, but very enjoyable, you know. And people put up with it because there was no harm at the end of the day, you know.
Exactly.
So, it was 1969 when I was in the army, John, in the 4th Battalion in Collins Barracks. But I remember married quarters there, and at the houses behind us. I remember Joe Grady living there, Sergeant Joe. He was playing goals. Right. He played in goals for Cork Hibs. Do you remember Joe?
That's right. He was one of the guys, no?
Yeah.
We'd always get a chase off of Joe, yeah.
Oh, yeah. This is a big man. Big Tom.
Huge man. And his children were all big as well, you know. And I met him years and years ago later, you know, after he finished playing with Cork Hibs. Yeah. And we had some great cracks, great points, and great laughing and sing songs and all. We had great cracks.
I remember when they were playing a European Cup match in our lads, Borussia Mönchengladbach.
Yeah, I was there.
A fella played for Germany. It was West Germany at the time. Horst Rubesch.
That's right.
Was a midfield. He scored the goal from the halfway line that night.
That's right.
Joe was away off the goals, of course.
So Joe was famed for, I don't know if you remember him, he used to come over with one hand to catch crosses.
Yeah.
And 9 times out of 10, the ball would clink to his hand because his hand was so big.
Huge hand, yeah.
Yeah, and he'd miss the odd one, and of course the opposition would score, and there'd be ructions around the crowd, like, you know.
And
times.
Your father stayed in the army, did he, most of his life?
He did. He was there up to the last 5 years. He retired, and he died when he was 60. So he was only out of the army about 5 years.
Oh, jeez, that was very young, John, wasn't it?
Yeah. Yeah, but sure, he was. You know, you might have remembered him. He used to be with Dick Ballard with the horse and trap, just be going around with the turf.
Oh, I didn't know that was your dad. I know of what you're talking about now. All right.
Yeah,
Super.
well, Dick Ballard was the guy that was looking after the horses and the horse and cart, but my dad worked with him. You know, there was two of them always on the horse and cart, and
Yes.
what they used to do then above there when all the turf was distributed out to all the billets, there'd be what they call slack left above there.
Yeah.
So they'd load it up into the horse and trap, horse and cart, and they'd be bringing it down to us so we could pick out the old slacks and for the fire. But my dad, of course, was always one step ahead, and he'd tell me mother, so we'd have all the buckets ready, and we'd hear the horse and cart coming, so we'd know then that all the heavy briquettes were down at the bottom of the heavy turf was down the bottom underneath all the silt.
Yeah.
So we'd always have plenty of turf for the fire.
Yeah, you go. I tell you, there was nothing wasted in, was there?
Nothing.
And was there many in your family, John?
No, just the three of us, my brother and my sister.
A brother and yourself. God, yeah. There was nine in my family. A good Catholic family, as they said.
Good Catholic family, yeah.
It was a small family from where I came because there was a family of 12, another family of 14, and another one of 21.
Yeah. So there was no televisions there that time, huh?
No, you had to create your own fun. Is that what they said?
That's right.
And if you were a restless sleeper, they said you had a very big family.
Yeah. Brilliant.
You're listening to LiR Confidential with my special guest, John Lonergan. Now, John, I described you as a community activist. We all like to think we are aware of what's going on in our community, some more so than others. And there are some issues that come along sometimes in your life, and you say, I have to get up off my backside and do something about this. And the one that Mary was filling me in about was you were involved, I suppose, actively, as many of us were, when the whole idea of this water cropped up about charging people for water and the carry on, John. And how did you get involved in that, John?
I tell you now, Pat, I was made unemployed in 2008, January 2009, the 1st of January, 2nd of January, when the crash came.
Yeah.
And of course, the government then decided in April or May to bring in property tax. And I totally lost it over the property tax. And I started going to meetings in Cork, and it was being run by Joe, what's his name? He was a Kerry man, the Socialist Party anyway, they were whatever they were called that time.
Joe Higgins.
Joe Higgins, correct.
Yeah.
And he was kind of leading the whole thing on, and I was going to meetings, and suddenly started meeting a few people that I knew from our own area. And then the water charges came in. But the property tax was taken away from everyone else by the revenue taken over. So then it was left to water charges. So I started going to meetings then, local meetings, and eventually I ended up chairman. And we got rid of any political parties involved. People had their own, obviously, political views in the group, but we got rid of all that. And we got a message one day that Irish Water, you see, at the start, Irish Water used to send around a letter to people to say, we'll be in your area in 2 weeks' time fitting water meters. So this group up in Ashbrook Estate got in contact with us and said, look, we're after getting them to notice they're coming in 2 weeks' time. What can you do? So we went up and we had a meeting in the Green. So what we do is we go around and we drop a letter into each letterbox telling people we're having a meeting at 7 o'clock at night. Come out and we'll inform you about what water meters are going to do for you and all that. People came out. We said, look, we'll come up. We'll stand with you. We won't stand for you. We'll stand with you. You have to come out with us. And Irish Water arrived on the day that they said they'd arrive at 8 o'clock in the morning, but we were already there from 6:30. And the residents were with us, and we stopped them entering the estate. And the same happened the following morning. And the following morning, all hell broke loose because all the radios got it, all the newspapers got it.
Yeah.
And we were the first in Ireland to actually make a stand and stop the installation of water meters. And the following day, a woman in Dublin put out a call. She saw what was happening with us and put out a call for help in Dublin. And that's how they started in Dublin. So we actually were the first in the country to say no. And it's amazing, Pat. I was on every radio. What's his name rang me from News Talk, that Ivan Yates. I got a phone call from the estate above one morning. Ivan Yates, breakfast, 7:30 in the morning. And he asking me, what was I doing? Why was I doing it? And I brought out a statutory instrument to tell him this is what they cannot do. And we also had a list of the rules for the Gardaí to say the Gardaí are supposed to be on the people's side, not on company's side. And we had their oath written down in a piece of paper.
Yeah.
And Ivan Yates, at the end of our conversation, to cut a long story short, he asked me, was I a solicitor? Now, I didn't know what he meant to that, because I was like 3 feet away from Irish water workers trying to stop them entering an estate.
Yeah.
But I found it very interesting. Why would he ask me, was I a solicitor? Because I started to mention statutory instruments. So in other words, he was saying to me, like, what's a ticko like you doing?
That's right. That's right. And of course, well, News Talk in the early days, they were owned originally because they were owned by Dennis O'Brien, Communicorp.
That's right. That's right.
Because his company, SiteServe, as you know, was involved in all of that. So, I mean, people forget very easily, John. So it's very insidious, you know. And it was, and you looking back now, John, the horrific waste of money on those things. Waste of money.
Look, it's like what's going on at the moment. There was an agenda there, right? And again, it was Dennis O'Brien. Like, I don't mind mentioning his name or anything like that, because he got that contract. He should never have got it. He got a contract with a company that wasn't even set up. As you're probably telling you won't know all this.
Well, a lot of people, John, might have forgotten it.
Yes. And so we were getting all these, we had the newspapers, we had all the radio stations, the waste of money that the water meters, we were trying to tell people, you know, that you don't need, there's nothing wrong with your stopcock. Your stopcock is perfectly fine. If it does leak, they can replace it. There was no need for them to put in meters that throw out radiation, right? Now, they were all on to us about, it's just very small, you'd have more radiation off a microwave. But we were trying to tell people that if you live in an estate with 65 houses, that's 65 radiation things bouncing off each other, right? Yes. To send a signal eventually to the main signal course, because whether people know it or not, the same is going to happen with their smart meters for electricity and for gas, right? There'll be no more gas men walk around to anybody's houses reading meters. So it'll be the same with the water. They don't even have to send anybody out. It'll all be pinged, so you'll have radiation flying everywhere. But that was a separate issue. They should never have brought in water meters. Unless, and I said this from the very start, if they could have created employment in this country. We have the wettest country in Europe, right?
Certainly, yeah.
I don't know about the world, but definitely in Europe, right? It rains probably 330 days in the year here, right? Where does all that water go? Why didn't they create employment and put a water butt? I know it would cost a lot of money, but to be better than spending what they spent and giving Dennis O'Brien all this money. If they put water butts under the ground of every home and hook that up to your toilet, your central heating and stuff like that, right? So if you then go away and wash your car with your tap water, well, then you will bloody well pay for it. But you should be able to wash your car, flush your toilet, do your system from the rainwater. And people forget this, right? They wanted to charge us for the rainwater, because if you look back at what they brought out, they wanted to charge for water in, water out, and the water from the gully. So that's how they were making out how much they were going to charge people at the very start. And nothing has changed. People are saying, but sure, they're giving us a grand leeway, they're giving us loads of, what do you call it, litres to have. That's grand.
Right. Yeah, they so many litres per household, yeah.
Yeah, but that's grand until the what's that fella they call it? I can't remember his name. The fellow who decides whether there's a price increase in the electricity and all that.
Oh, the ombudsman.
Ombudsman. If the ombudsman says, oh no, we'll have to drop the household litres per by whatever, so it'll be done. And we'll end up then paying back what they originally wanted us to pay. And if we hadn't done what we did, Pat, and everyone else joined in, we'd have been paying for the last few years over €1,000 a year for your water.
You would, because, John, you haven't far to look when you look across to the United Kingdom, to England, and see the horrific scandal that they've done with water. I don't know why people aren't up in arms over it, because it's shocking the amount of money they have to pay for water. And all these private companies competing with each other, they've commodified water. They've made it the same value as gold or silver or something, way beyond the reach of many ordinary people. And you know, you're talking about the property tax there, you mentioned earlier on, the property tax. I think at the end of the day, if people, most citizens of this republic, would not mind paying a tax if they were getting something back from it. In other words, if the property tax you paid on your house delivered you your bin collection, your water and other services, people would not complain about it. But it's just an out-and-out plain tax taken off you, and that's it, for nothing, no return. There's no return for it.
No. And the reason that I was against the property tax, obviously, is I had paid for my house, right? I had paid everything. I owed nothing. One of the things that I can always stand proud is I never owed anybody any money, right? And this thing just went, why should I be paying a tax on my home? And I was in Patrick Street for every Saturday, roaring over a megaphone for 2 hours, telling people what the TDs were earning and telling people how much they would be paying in property tax. And we told them that Michael Noonan or the government were going to put a moratorium on. If you remember back, Pat, everyone was given a list of the prices and how much you'd be paying.
Yeah.
And I can guarantee you nearly everybody went for the cheapest price, right? Which I think was €175,000 your house was valued at. If I'm wrong, I could be wrong now, but I think that's the figure. Yeah. And you paid whatever it was. Now, Michael Noonan in 2016, I think, or 2014, decided to give toll revenue, not to increase the property tax, but to give them time to look at the values each person put on their home.
Yeah.
Right? Now, what we've found out in the meantime is they are now going to put we say you valued your house at 175,000 in 2009, right?
Yeah.
So from 2009 to 2020, you underpaid your household tax because you undervalued your home. So your home was valued at 175 in 2014, 15, or 2009, 10.
Yeah.
So it was worth another 25,000. Because look at what they're doing. Every now and then, the value of house prices goes up, right? They never come down, Pat. They go up.
They don't stand still.
No, but they'll value then. So in your area, wherever you're living, and your area at that time was 175,000 euros. It's now 250,000 euros for a house in your area. And I'm sure if you found out, you'd probably say, yeah, it's probably close enough to that. So they'll backdate that to everybody and say, right, for the last 8 years, this much. And revenue will take it off you.
That's very disquieting altogether, because, I mean, I don't know what's going to happen with of course, with COVID and all of this, the last people have forgotten about the additional problems of the property tax, and it's not being spoken about, certainly on mainstream media.
No.
There's very little spoken about the property tax. LiR Confidential is a program. My special guest is John Lonergan with us here, and John was famous, and he's still half famous. I done when he got involved with the water group in Cork. But John, where do you live now? Are you living in the south side?
I'm living in the south side now. I'm living in Ballyfihan.
Yep.
Hence the name of the group we have, Ballyfihan South Parish Toker Says No. It's just down underneath the airport, and a lovely area, beautiful area to be living in.
I know well. And whose constituency would you be in now?
Oh, I won't mention his name, but he's the Taoiseach. The other Gambine,
Michael McGrath, is it? Michael McGrath.
Michael McGrath and Donncha O'Leary.
Did Donncha step? No. Oh no, he didn't step down. Oh no. I thought he was retired. No. There's the chap in the north side. What's his name?
Yeah, Jonathan O'Brien from Sinn Féin.
Jonathan didn't stand in the last election, so I got him mixed up. Donncha is a good operator.
Well, he was very good. And I tell you, another true fact, and he admitted this to me himself, he came up and stood behind us in Ashbrook Estate.
Yeah.
But I didn't know who he was from Adam, but I just see this guy standing here every now. So to us, he was standing with us.
Yeah.
And then I found out that the council elections were coming up, and that's why he stood there. So anytime we went out at meetings or anything, we always said, look, give your vote to Donncha O'Leary. And my God, he got in. And I happened to be in the local pub the night that the results came in, and he came in the door with his crew, and he came over and he tapped me on the shoulder and he says, thanks very much, John, for you and your guys, what you done for me.
Yeah. Yeah.
So he got in on the back of the water charges protest.
Yes.
Right? Now, roll on, I think the second last election or something, and we had a fabulous march here in Cork. One of the marches of the water protests, the 13th of November, I think.
Yeah.
It's on our Facebook page anyway. We had about 30,000 people marched in Cork on the most horrific day. And I remember I was up in the bandstand, and again, everything was there was things put in our way, so we couldn't hold it, right? The guards told us we were parked illegally on the footpaths, but we went ahead anyway. We said, damn it, we're going ahead. Now, the guards were okay with it afterwards, but at the starting, to stop us. But we had 30,000 people march that day, the most horrific day, rain, talk about water charges. If you could pick that up on our Facebook page, it's unbelievable to look at. If you know Cork City, to see, they started at the South Mall, at the corner of the South Mall Grand Parade, and they marched off. And the end of the march, which was the Ballyhay people, they were the last people to march. Yeah. They were at the fountain in the Grand Parade, about to go, and we had already stopped the front of the march, turning around into the Grand Parade.
Oh my God!
Yeah, it was unnatural, Pat. I tell you now, it was the greatest thing I've ever seen in my life. And I was up in Dublin when there was 100,000 people there. But for Cork City, on the day it was phenomenal.
Yeah. The next big crowd will be for the All Ireland, but that's such a long ways off, John.
It's a long way.
Yes, we won't see one of them for a long time.
No, no, definitely.
I mean, an awful lot of people up and down the country in all parties got elected on the back of these protests. Some of them sincerely so. There's no doubt about it. Yes. But some of them opportunistic.
Yes.
The disappointment for me, John, in this present Dáil, is that all the parties, there's no one now representing the ordinary people.
No.
There's no one representing the voice of the people who have a different view.
No, you're right.
You have to social distance. You have to wear face masks. You have to kowtow. There's no room for even a discussion on it.
No.
On the science of it, even to question something. I find that appallingly so in the Dáil, you know.
It's disgraceful. Pat, there was somebody put up a post somewhere, I don't know, was it last year or early this year, and they said, and it was very true, you know, they've taken away our chances of meeting, right? So they've closed down the pubs, they've closed down the churches, they've closed down the crossroads because you can't meet, right? Where was the best place everybody met? The pub, the church, the local shop, the post office. They're all closing down.
Yeah, the local soccer match, the local GA match.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
If you go up to the 6 counties, you can go to the football and hurling. You cross over the border, you can't go.
That's right.
It makes no sense whatsoever.
Nothing of this whole thing makes sense. And like, again, going back, I actually met with Micheál Martin the time, not this government, no, the one previously, where he was confidence and supply, right? Yeah. But before that confidence and supply was made, I got a meeting with him, me and another girl out of our group.
Yeah.
Private 1-on-1, well, 2-on-1. And he went to shake my hand, and I refused to shake his hand. Because I said to him, you have got in, you've got your party back up to so many seats because you marched for us for the last March in Cork on the dirty wet day. And I said, I want to know from you, what are you going to do in government? Are you going to abolish Irish water? And what? He cut his manifesto and threw it across to me. And he says, read that. I'm not budging from that. Right? And that manifesto said he was abolishing Irish water. He was handing it back to the local councils, and he'd stop the water metering protest installation. Yeah. But he said, and I'll give him this much, because the contracts are already signed for the water meter installation, some of them will be still going ahead. And I said, you will never get a water meter in our area as long as I'm alive. Right? And thank God, so far as I know, they've tried to come in. It went so good for us at one stage that, and this is only last 2019, yeah. They came with the city council into Turner's Cross, and somebody rang us, and we went up and we stopped them, right? And the Gardaí were called, and like what we do, we go in behind the barrier or into the hole. We don't just go over and say stop, and we go in. So the Gardaí were called, and the guards went to them, and then he came back to us and he said, look, you'll have to leave them and do their work. I said, they can walk away, but they're not working in our area. So eventually it came down after 15 minutes. The guard said, it's a private matter, and it's up to the city council and Irish Water stroke the contractor, Murphy's at the time, to come to an agreement with you. And within an hour, I had a meeting with 3 people from the city hall with maps, and I told them where they're not to go. And if they're ever to come into our area, they're to ring us to let us know what they're doing and what. And that is still going on. So they cannot come into our area, even the city council, without us being informed.
No, I mean, they're not allowed. There's certain rights that householders have, and an awful lot of people, John, are not aware of that, of the rights they have. They're not aware of the law either, you know. Exactly. And I think the guards have really done very little for themselves in the last 12 months, the way they behave towards the Irish citizens in general, I'm speaking about now, you know.
Yes,
where they are to uphold the law, but there was no actual law about wearing face masks. There's no law about travelling around the country. The constitution has not been changed. And the idea of going onto buses, I was asked once, because my dad is 91, he lives in Mallow, and I only met Gars once, and I was asked where I was going. by a vanguard as it transpired. Very ignorant as well, I must say. I should have
Yes.
taken my be able to broadcast it, but I didn't. But anyway, I had other things on my mind. And she said, "Where are you going?" In front of the bus and all the people. And I wasn't going to engage in a private conversation.
Yes.
And the way they behaved towards the citizens was appalling. I mean,
Yeah.
I would have been on the bus, except I was going where I had to go. Why would I be on the bus? Except this was the essential journey for me.
Yes.
It's an essential journey for everybody who's on a journey, as far as I'm concerned. And they should not be allowed to interfere with Irish citizens that way.
I agree 100%, Pat. It's a violation of your right.
It is.
Like this, we'll jump forward a small bit there. This vaccine passport thing, to me, is another bloody joke. I said to one guy one day, I won't say who he was now, but because he knows, I said, I have a passport here. It tells me the Irish government and the everybody, I can travel the world on this passport.
You can?
No, I can't. I'm not allowed to leave this country unless I have proof that I'm vaccinated or proof that I don't have COVID-19.
Well, that's what they're saying. That's
Yes.
what they're saying. But I looked online myself. I only looked in one country, mind you now, Greece, where a lot of people go on holidays.
Yeah.
And you can book your flight in Cork Airport down the road from you to go to Greece. If there's a flight. All you need is an antigen test 24 hours before you leave, that it's negative. And when you land in wherever you're going to in Greece, you need to take another test. You need to stay in your accommodation for 1 day until the results come back.
But I don't know. I've just been on, I was on last night about this, right? And because that know-it-all that doesn't know anything, Tony Holohan, the man who's caused deaths all over this country, has said that they're not to recognise the antigen test. So, because I have two friends who want to go to their parents living in another country, and there's two adults and 2 children, and it will cost them €400 for the test because they have to get the PCR test. The antigen test will not be allowed in the airport to fly. By the airline will, but the airport authority won't. That's where they have you, Pat.
Yeah, I mean, LiR Confidential is a program. My special guest is John Lonergan. But this confusion about not traveling. Now, thankfully, I don't have to travel. Myself. I'm just only talking about myself. But frighten people to allow unelected, privileged people to make decisions for the whole country is all wrong, John, in my book. We're going down a very dangerous road here. Very dangerous road. To allow 1 or 2 public elected or officials who are appointed, and all these things do not affect them. They didn't lose one single penny, any of those people, during the lockdown, the so-called lockdown. They're not going to lose any money no matter what decisions are made. They're not going to be impoverished in any way whatsoever. Our Taoiseach should hang his head in shame.
I agree.
To hand over powers like that to people. I never thought I'd see the day, and particularly a Corkman, and yourself, myself, a Corkman, to have a Taoiseach from Cork who behaves like that.
Yeah.
I honestly think the people of Cork, surely the voters of Cork, are going to rise up against that the next time round.
Well, look, from what I hear on the ground anyway, definitely. I mean, the man is just an imbecile to me anyway. He lied to my face. I'll call him a liar for the rest of his life. I was outside his office, constituency office, only last year. We went down there just on a walk, just to leave him know that we're still around. And people were looking at us, with our high-vis vest. What's going on here? And there was a few fellas passing because there was no one going to the pubs. And a fella said, what are you doing there? I said, we're here to play a game of snakes and ladders. We have the ladders, but the snakes won't come out. Got a great reaction.
That's a very good one. Now, John, you have a world champion in your house, I believe, have you?
I'm very proud. He's a 10-time world Irish dancing champion. 10 times.
I never knocked around with the Irish dancing fraternity. Not that I found anything wrong with him. I moved in different circles until I got to know my friend Mary Honan here. And then I got a little look into the world of Irish dancing. It's fantastic. I don't have to tell you how good it is. And the first thing I noticed about all the boys and girls, whatever age group, so well behaved about the discipline, the confidence. I don't have to tell you that, of course, John.
Yeah.
It's just a fantastic thing to be involved in.
It's the friendships they make out of it. Like I danced when I was younger myself, but there was nothing to look forward to, you know, unless you went to do the shows in the pubs, or there was never really anything, or maybe shows on the boats or something like that. But there was nothing to entice you. But the kids now have a great chance, because up to last year, they had River Dance, Lord of the Dance, Magic of the Dance, Feet of Flames. You know, there were shows that they could aspire to. Now, it's hopefully, please God, but with this bloody government, I don't know, they're after killing the Irish arts between music and dance and pubs and sing-songs. Everything is gone. They've killed us. But the friendships that the children make, I mean, I'll tell you, we used to go to the feshes, all the big ones, and Mary will tell you. I mean, Mary was absolutely Dora. I loved her to bits. She used to run a great fesh herself down in Limerick, and
could she dance, John?
I only saw her once.
Yeah. Was she able to dance, do you think?
Oh, she was. She was, and a beautiful singer.
Oh, well, I can attest to that.
Yeah.
She often makes into song. Beautiful voice.
Beautiful voice.
Yeah.
We often went to feshes now like that, up the big, especially the big ones. And my son would be in the hall from morning to night. And I only had a conversation with someone earlier that I was in Belfast, I think, about 4 times, I think, for the World Championships in All Irelands. And I don't think I saw anything else outside the hotel in the dance hall.
Yeah.
You know, it was just, you become a big family, and but you were right in what you said there, the manners that they're taught, and
confidence.
It's the confidence, yeah. And you'd see it in the shows, you know. I mean, my son, thank God, luckily he was in Riverdance when he finished competing. Actually, before he finished competing, and my God, to see him up on the stage with Riverdance, I mean, the iconic Riverdance, unbelievable.
That must have been fantastic, was it?
Oh, still gives me, my hair still standing on the back of my neck every time I see it, and every time I go to it, I just think it's, what a show.
And you know, John, as you're talking about Irish dancing now, of course, Riverdance, I think, gave a new injection to dancing in Ireland. Definitely gave a new injection. But the Irish dancing classes, they're not allowed to happen now as well. What's that about?
It's crazy, Pat. I can't understand it. They've stopped teaching. They have to only teach outdoors. Now, that has changed in the last week, I think, but I'm not certain, because I speak to my son and he has his own school now at the moment.
Yeah.
But they have to teach outdoors. Now, he had to go away. Yeah, he had to go away and buy a marquee, right, to install it, put it up and take it down every night, because where he's in the school he's in, he couldn't leave it out for insurance purposes. But none of the no sidewalls or nothing. So it was literally out in the open. And that's all he could teach. He wasn't, for the last 12 months, they were on Zoom.
But that's nuts, John.
Yeah.
Surely be the God. But should the commission take a stronger line on this? The people who are in charge.
Well, I was very disappointed with the commission, the way they, all the dancing bodies, the main bodies, how they didn't think more of the children. Like, at the end of the day, this is about the children. right, the teachers obviously as well. But you're talking about children's mental health here, right? So they've taken away their friends, right? Their classmates, first of all. Then the friendships they made while they were away at Feshes in 2018 and 2019.
Right.
Yet over in America, we're told every day, America's in an awful state. All the Feshes never stopped. The teaching never stopped because they have their facilities outdoors, right? But they had the Feshes indoors, Pat. All big competitions. So all their dancers now are way ahead of all our Irish dancers, which is Irish dancing, not American dancing. I don't mean to be discriminatory in any way.
I know the point you're making, yeah.
And the English are the same over. They've had Feshes in England as well. I mean, on the first, it was October or November, I think, there was a Fesh up in the north of Ireland. And John went up to it and he had a couple of dancers dancing it. And it was hell fabulous. They had no problem. None at all.
Above the north.
Yeah.
And children are the same across the border as the other side of it.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
It's nuts. It's nuts. You can't. We can't blame the commission obviously for that because the rules and regulations made up by this imbecilic government that we have in place. They are Houlihan and those people are responsible for those idiotic rules and regulations, compounded by the continuous stupidity of RTE as well.
The media.
It's shocking, John. Isn't
the
it?
Media is you can see that the media is bought because when you go on to social networking, you find out an awful lot of what stuff that's going on. I mean, a lot of people, I don't know what most of your listeners were, but I just listened to an ex-policeman in Birmingham who has put in a citation on. He's bringing theoretically the Minister for Health in England to court, and he wants the guard. He's an ex-policeman, so he wants the police to arrest him and investigate it regarding the wearing of masks, the vaccine. He had statistics that I just listened to, and I'm blown away by him, and I'm trying to remember them now. But there were more the people that are in hospital. You know where you see the cases now in hospital at the moment are starting to increase.
Yeah.
Nobody is asking the question: are those people vaccinated? Because according to his statistics from the English health authority, whatever it's called,
yes.
over not NHS, they have something called a yellow card, right? And you can get all the information on this. And there was more deaths in 2017, 18, and 19 than there was in 2020. More deaths of ordinary. But because anyone who went into hospital in Ireland or England with a cold, a flu, a heart attack, a suspected heart attack, everything was classed as COVID-19. And that's why the figures are so high. And I have a major problem with this thing. There's 325 cases today. Cases of what?
Yeah.
All they have 225 tests, Pat.
Yeah. Yes. That's my bear bug all the time. And we've had some arguments here on the station, one of us, and I hear that there's been 600 cases. Now, if they can come on television and radio and say there are 600 cases, they should also be able to say, of those 600, 20 are dead, 50 are dying, 100 in hospital, and 500 are not sick. If they can give out this figure, they should be able to describe the whole lot of them. And they don't do that because, as you know, these are tests that come back.
I agree 100%, Pat.
Yeah. And I don't know what the answer is in the long run because I'm just... I never thought I'd be totally bamboozled by this. And you cannot have a discussion with people because people should remember that it's an experimental vaccine till 2023. It's an experimental vaccine. So, John, if I drove up to your house tonight in Ballyphehane with 2 cars, one was an experimental car till 2023 and the other was the other model car, I'd have no doubt which one you drive off in.
It wouldn't be the first one anyway.
That's my own opinion of describing the thing myself. Now,
Yeah.
I mean, it's at the end of the day, whether you decide to do something yourself medically, it's your own private business. Nobody else should have that information, only you and your doctor.
Exactly.
I have no right, a total stranger has no right to come up to you in a shop or in a chemist shop, particularly in a pharmacy, and say, well, have you had your jab, John?
That's
no,
right.
they didn't send it to me in the post.
Yeah. Yeah.
It was ridiculous. It's a ridiculous carry on the way people are carrying on. And I tell you, it's turning a lot of people off people as well, you know. I've given up saluting people in masks outside.
That's disgraceful. I seen couples coming out of homes, right? Coming out of homes with no masks on, getting into their cars and putting on a mask each. In the name of God Almighty, who would brainwash anybody to be doing that? I mean, the same 2 people into the same car and they're putting on masks. Like,
It makes no sense whatsoever.
No sense at all. But no. I've seen a thing now again this morning. I got it last night. There are senators in the Senate and it was live. I don't know whether you saw it or not. They want Fauci to not step down, but they want him brought before the justice system in America. They want him, his pay stopped immediately because of all the lies he told. And again, it's regarding masks, it's regarding the vaccine, and not the implementation of ivermectin and hydroxychloroquine.
Yeah.
And people remember, I'm not the greatest fan of this guy Trump, right? But I remember people laughing at him when he said he went into hospital, he was supposed to have had it, and he took hydroxychloroquine, and he came out within 2 days. That's not unreal, because other science people have said that if you take hydroxychloroquine or ivermectin with vitamin D, it combats
that's right. And because India is so populated, as you know, huge population of people, and so densely populated, they're giving out ivermectin the last couple of months in villages in India to combat COVID-19. Now, John and myself are not scientists. We're only giving you the information that we
that's all,
ourselves. And I mean, we are not anti-science or anti-anything. All I'm saying is people should be informed and inform themselves. But there isn't a wider discussion, so people have to go looking for this information. There's very little exchange on media, generally speaking, in Ireland about anything like that. There's very little discussion about it. But getting back to our sporting pros, would you be a hurling or football fan now, John?
No, I played it, but I went into soccer and I never looked back, as they say. I broke my kneecap when I was only 13. I shattered it, and I was actually being scouted at the time, myself and my friend were being scouted for Arsenal, which would have been around the same time as Brady, just maybe before Brady and Stapleton, Dublin. So I broke my kneecap and then it never reset properly, so I was never the player I was. But
jeez, that's terrible.
That was my passion then, you know.
Yeah, soccer.
Yeah.
Would you have been? I think you were around the same age as myself. Although I probably have a few years in you. But
well, I'm 66 next month.
Oh yeah. Oh well, I'm 69.
Sure. Yeah, you are. Sure. We're nearly close to each other.
Were you in Flower Lodge or Turner's Cross?
Flower Lodge. Yeah. A Hibsman, yeah.
Dave Bucuzzi.
Do you know what I loved that team? Now and obviously, of course, because Joe O'Grady was there, right? Because he was living in the same park as us.
Yeah.
But it was just there was just something different about Flower Lodge to Turner's Cross.
There was. I love both places, but Flower Lodge, yeah, we of course, Celtic and both Hibs, they were flying high enough, you know, they had two. And Waterford, we mustn't forget Waterford at the time, with Alfie
Waterford
Hay,
were very good.
Johnny Matches and all them, they were just fantastic as well,
Fabulous. Fabulous players.
You had Maya, didn't he? Of course, Maya.
That's right, yeah. Maya, Jesus. You wouldn't believe it, Pat. I done bouncer for him. He was running a private bouncer thing there when Michael Jackson came to Parkliff Heath that time.
Oh yeah, I remember.
He was the guy that was running the bouncers and all that. So I got a job down with him down outside Jury's Hotel where Jackson was staying.
Yeah.
And a very good one actually, Pat. I was at the doors, right, at the start, and then I was put inside on the hallway leading up to where Michael and his entourage were staying.
Yeah.
And I know the one of the cleaners, her parents owned the Red Setter pub. Do you remember that pub in Dillon's Cross?
I know the Red Setter well, yeah.
Yeah. Well, her parents ran that, and I knew her. And there was a lot of stories going around, right? But anyway, long story short, I was then put out the back of the hotel on the day of the concert, and I was doing perimeter searching. And there was a lot of to and fro, and next thing I was called in and I was put in indoors at the end of a set of stairs, which is up. Jackson was up overhead us, right? So there was just, obviously, hotels. There was all rooms on the left-hand side of me. And this man came out and he had a camera.
Yeah.
And as he came out, Pat, two bodyguards came down the hallway. Get to the ground. Throw that away. Throw that away. They made the man go back into his room, right? Otherwise, the concert would be cancelled.
Oh, Jesus.
Yeah? Honest to God, Pat, I'm sitting here and out talk, yeah.
Okay.
So about 5 minutes later, anyway, the cop cars arrived and the bus, the limousine arrived for him. Yeah. And he came walking down the hall towards me. Well, I tell you now something. I've been in the company of a lot of people, right? Yeah. But the aura coming from him as he walked down the hallway. And he said to me, "It's a bit cold." And I just nodded. I was dumbstruck. But people were saying he was white. He was black. It was all makeup.
Yeah. Well, yeah. Michael Jackson was the king of pop, and of course, there's no doubt about that. Thriller album, to me, was the finest pop music albums ever.
Amazing.
He was an amazing artist. A pure genius is right, yeah. He was so sad that life that he had. You have to forget about his personal life and enjoy his music. That's what I say to people, you know.
Exactly, yeah.
Jackson, you know, he was such a genius. He was way, way, way ahead of his time, you know. And of course, for Cork to have him, that was incredible at the time, you know.
Oh, unbelievable.
We were sitting. We were sitting out in the veranda of the Country Club Hotel, listening to the music.
Going on that. Brilliant.
There you go. I only had a passing interest in that type of music at that time, you know.
Yeah.
There you go.
Now, just an interesting story, like.
And of course, you had Dave Wigington as well involved in that Hibs team, and Noel O'Mahony.
Right.
And God, I forget about. And Cal Humphreys was with Celtic, wasn't he?
He was with Celtic, yeah.
Tony Marsden, do you remember him?
Tony Marsden was up front with
Yeah. And you had, oh God, I forget the rest of them now.
Sonny Lawson.
Oh,
Johnny
yeah.
Lawson and Sonny McSweeney and Johnny Lawson.
Sonny Mac and John, that's right. And who was in goal? Dave, what was the name of the goalkeeper? Alec, oh God.
Alec Ludzik, he was Celtic.
Yeah, Celtic, that's right, Alec Ludzik. God, where did Dave Wigington, where did poor Dave passed away, of course?
He did, but he opened a fish and chip shop down in Blackrock.
He did?
I think 1 or 2 chippers, I think he had down in Blackrock, yeah.
And that go all right from did it?
As far as I know, it was going great up to the time he died, I think.
Of course, Dave Bacozzi himself has passed away as well, said, you know.
He has, yeah. My God, did you know the area where they used to train?
Huh?
Did you know the area where they trained in Ballintemple?
I do, yeah, I did.
Oh my God, that was some hills. And they used to be up and down that hill 3 or 4 times a session.
You had a great drum conjure team there as well at Ben Hannigan. Remember Big Ben?
That's right, Big Ben.
Ben could mind himself on the pitch, as I say.
God, he was hard. He was very hard.
God, he was like a wall.
Yeah, he was.
He was. You couldn't knock him. I don't ever remember seeing him falling in a match.
No, and I never see him being beaten in the air either.
No, Ben was one of the good ones, but they were great times. But Flower Lodge itself, as a playing surface, to me, was one of the finest soccer pitches in the country.
Amazing.
And it's another chapter in the long chapter of bad decisions. The FAI didn't have the foresight to keep that for soccer, you know?
Yeah.
And that's no criticism of the GA, because the GA they didn't buy that to do the soccer people out of the pitch because it was being sold.
No. I'll tell you the story about that. I think I remember the right story.
AOH was it had that?
That's right. My next door neighbour was the name of George O'Sullivan. He was the trainer of Cork Hibs.
Oh, yeah.
Remember, he used to run onto the pitch with the bag, and the bottle of water was all he ever had in it, but he used to always bring it. That's right. Right? He lived next door to me, Larton Messingham, and I was saying to him one day about, how did the GA get hold of Flower Lodge? And he said exactly what you said. AOH owned it. They approached the Munster Football Association, right?
Yeah.
Who approached the FAI to buy it. So they put in a price. I can't remember the price.
Yeah.
The GA put in a higher price. The AOH went back to the MFA and told them the price, and the FAI said, no, this is all we're willing to pay, and that's it. And that's how it went to the GA. The AOH had no allegiance to anybody. And that's how the FAI could have bought it. And now what happened? Turner's Cross only belongs to the Munster Football Association, only thing since last year. So there was no pitch owned by anybody in Cork. And that's why you had problems with Cork teams playing soccer. They're losing money.
It's a shame that it's a shame. I mean, Cork City, it's a shame. Well, I think soccer has changed. Certainly here in Limerick, where I'm living now in the area, Treaty United.
Yes.
I think are going the right way about it. Not because they're in Limerick. They're concentrating on all the local junior clubs, both in Clare and Limerick in the Midwest area, as feeder clubs for a senior team. And they're developing young Irish talent, which, if you're a junior soccer player now, you have a pathway to senior soccer. Do you know what I mean?
Yes.
And I've noticed. And I think the building blocks and the idea behind Treaty United is the right way to go. And Cork City should model that as well. Concentrate on the local, because there's a huge amount of junior soccer clubs in Cork City. You're all
natural. I remember. I'll tell you a true story. Again.
Those. Yeah.
I'll tell you a true story now, Pat. I was running a soccer team, and it was a youth team, and they were doing very well. We had a good lot of good players, and we were doing a training session, and then we had a match on a Saturday morning up by the airport. And Cork City were training there after our match. So I knew one of the trainers in Cork City, and he came off to me and he says, have you any good players?
Right.
And I said to him, in the sweet name of Jesus, I said, why haven't you scouted already? This team are top of the league. Surely you have somebody that's looking at the youths that are coming up in Cork City.
Yeah.
Right? So he said, well, look, he says, I don't know about one, but I'm just asking you. Well, I said, take a look at this fella here now, and that fella there, and that fella. And within 2 minutes, he comes back and he says, they're too small. And I said, what? They're too small, he said. There's a fella playing with another, an age above, which would be Munster Senior League.
Yeah.
And he was only just 19 or something. I won't say his name now because I don't know whether he's still player. I don't think he is.
Yeah.
But he was 6'6", and that's who they wanted. And I said to him, do you know something? That's a disgrace. I said, you can go up to the best teams that ever played soccer. And the best players are always the fellas that are 5'5", 5'6". That's all they need to be once they have the ability.
Yeah. So look at Roy Keane.
Yeah.
Roy Keane, big man.
Yeah. And again, George O'Sullivan next door told me a story about him as well. He went scouting for, there was another player playing with Cork Ramblers. Again, This guy was 6'5". His name was Eric Hogan. He played centre forward for Cork Ramblers.
I remember Eric Hogan. I know who you're talking about, yeah?
Yes, right? So all the scouts were down to watch this guy, Eric Hogan. And George was there on behalf of Cork City.
Yeah.
And they were watching the match, and he was talking to the scout for Nottingham Forest. And he happened to say to him, who are you here to watch? Number 6 or number 8. Number 6, I think that's what Keane wore.
Yeah.
And George says, oh, no. He says, he's not good enough for that. It's number 9 we're after there. And within 2 weeks, Keane was off to Aston Villa.
Yeah.
Oh, sorry, off to Nottingham Forest. And the rest, as I say, is history. So they were all down looking at the wrong player.
John, we've come almost to the end. I suppose we won't see Cork Hurlers winning the All-Ireland this year, John, will we?
Not a hope.
I don't think they have a chance. I honestly think there's no point in blaming the players that are being put out the pitch, because those players are being picked. And if you were picked for a Cork senior hurling team and given a jersey, of course you'd play and you'd turn out.
Of course.
I think that there's a malaise within the hurling. I think with Donal O'Grady, Jerk Cunningham, Kieran Kingston, and all of those on the backroom team, their methodology, they're outdated. They're behind the curve.
Exactly.
So as long as, and that's not a criticism of what they did in past, but they're not suited to today's game, in my opinion. You know.
Pat, why don't everyone look at what Kilkenny do? How are Kilkenny, one manager, every year, they're at the top.
A dictator one. Yeah. That
you need somebody in there that, as you said, not the old ideas. Don't leave Cork or Limerick play the way they played 20 years ago when they had the glory days.
I was above in the 1976 All-Ireland final with my dad. Mm-hmm. And he's still knocking around. He was 91 last Sunday. But we were above 1976 All-Ireland against Wexford. I know you remember that All-Ireland.
No.
And Wexford had scored 2 goals and 2 points very fast, and Cork had no score.
Right.
And there was a huddle on the sideline, you know. And my dad said to me, by the time the 7 of them will have made a decision, we'll be going home. He said, you know, 7 people to make a decision whether to change things or not. You can't do that today.
No.
That's still happening in Kilkenny, and in fairness to Davy Fitzgerald in Wexford, you have the one person.
That's right.
And they say, John, get off here, and Pat, come on. And you can't have it any other way. And it's terrible. Yeah.
And like
Limerick are a footballing team.
You look at what happened in Cork for years, and I had major arguments with guys who go to the matches every week. And Frank Murphy, secretary of the Cork GA for years and years and years. Yeah. And I was told on numerous occasions that he was picking the bloody team every time. And why was he sitting down in the dugout every day? The man was being paid an astronomical sum of money to be a secretary in a voluntary organisation. And he's never moved from that position until he was pushed out at the very end. And that's what was wrong with Cork hurling, Pat.
Frank is a Black Rock man, isn't he?
Yeah. That's right.
Black Rock would be his club. But Frank was there for, I don't know, 40 years? 45,
Easily.
So he must be nearly 80 years of age now.
I'd say, if not more, Pat. I don't know even know if he's still alive, being honest.
They did a fine job in Páirc Uí Chaoimh It's a beautiful stadium there now. All we need
Was
is a
massive.
few decent teams now to come up. But I think I think to turn sometime soon. We're hopeful, you know.
The only thing is when people realise that this COVID is only a bloody scam and they'll get back to proper training and get fellas. You see, you could have lost an awful lot of players out of the country, and that are going to, like, a lot of people have got lazy, Pat. Right?
A lot of people are gone.
Exactly. But then a lot of them are getting €350 a week from this bloody pup payment. Where they came up, I said this to Mary the last time, where they came up with €350, I don't know. How is that a sum? Where did they pick that up from?
I don't know.
Like, they can't build a children's hospital in Dublin, which has been planned for how many years? Yet they can give out €350 a week. I'll tell you a story about a girl who's a hairdresser, just before the hairdressers opened.
Yeah.
When they opened back again, people were ringing to know, can I make an appointment? No answer. No one answering the phone. She came back a week later. This guy was going past and he says, where are you? Oh, I went back to Serbia for the last 3 months. And my pup was paid into my bank account every week.
Oh, I see.
Yeah. So why would anybody try and do anything? I know my niece had a friend who was only doing 6 hours a weekend in a shopping mall before the thing came out.
Yeah.
And she's getting €350 a week since. Where's the logic? Again, where did that figure come out of?
I don't know.
I personally think
there was young lads, all right. I mean, there are anomalies in the system, you're right. There was a lot of people getting money. They didn't earn part-time. They got more money out of the club they were getting in part-time. But then on the other hand, there is very bad pay in the hospitality industry. Very poor pay. And in the fast food industry, very poor pay. You know?
Disgraceful.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that's something that they could have fixed in the last 12 months with very little bother. You know, I don't know why they don't do it, John. Honestly, I don't know why they don't do it. You know?
See, there's some ulterior motive behind all this. It's I can't understand why all these businesses have been closed down. I can, to a certain extent, is that the monopolies will take over then, right? So instead of them building now, like I said to this girl the first day, I think the first week that this all happened, and she says, oh, I'm delighted I'm going to be working from home and I still be paid. And I said, you know what's going to happen now? I said, in my book, what I think is going to happen.
Yeah.
Why would I, as an employer, pay $2,000 or $3,000 a month to hire a building when all my workers, like, they're now been working at home for the last 12 months? Why should I be paying rent? So you either work from home or you have no job. So now again, it comes back to what we said before. They've now stopped workers talking to each other face to face. So you can't have a strike, because if you decide to have a strike, you're going on strike. How are you going to get anybody to come with you? So they'll have to work from home.
That's right.
Right? So now the boss will say, sorry there, no, Pat. I'm going to leave you go. Bye-bye. And I get somebody else in who'll work for less money and they'll work from home.
There's a lot of things happening that are not positive, that are not good for us. And I think people have to pay more attention, John, to things like that. But there's an awful lot of businesses that will not open again. We know that.
Loads of them, Pat. Loads of business.
My dad now, he lives in Mallow.
Yeah.
Town is devastated, in my opinion. I don't care what. I'm not being too negative. I walked up and down the town. The amount of businesses that are gone and won't open again. Yeah. And Mallow was one of the busiest towns outside of Cork City.
Yeah.
In the whole of the Cork, you know.
It's
the middle of Golden Vale, the middle of a huge farming community, and to see it like that. We could talk for another hour, John, but what we'll do, I'll come back to you again in a few weeks' time. You'll never
No
know.
problem, Pat.
Might have a change. And you know, we have a sports show going. I must have you on our sports show. We have a sports show going every Monday night from 8 to 9. We look back at all the sports that have gone on the weekend previous. And the golf is on. Do you follow the golf at all?
I do.
Leonie Maguire is leading in the ladies at the moment, even in the third round. The girl
Oh, very good. I didn't see the ladies now yet. I waited until Sunday to watch the ladies always.
She's I think there's something the third round. I was looking online a while ago. I have to keep up with those since I'm doing the sport show. I have to keep up with everything. But John, it's been an absolute pleasure having you along, and we won't leave it so long the next time. And from myself and from all the gang here in LiR Media and from this edition of LiR Confidential, John, until we meet again, take care and the best of luck in whatever you do.
Thanks very much, Pat, for having me, and the same to you and all your listeners.
And thanks, John.
Bye-bye.